This is the Working in Hell podcast with your host, Vinny Blasio. Each episode, Vinny takes you inside the world of New York State corrections, focusing on both corrections officer and law enforcement issues. And now your host, Vinny Blasio.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Vinny Blasio with the Working in Health podcast. Today, we have a special guest. We have Marc Priore on. He is our special guest who is currently running for the New York State Assembly District 142, which represents Lackawanna, Orchard Park, West Seneca, and South Buffalo. Marc is very well versed in our issues as he comes from law enforcement and specifically corrections. So he lives our life daily. So we'll let Marc take it away and give us a little introduction, a little bio in the background that he comes from. Marc, great to have you today.
Thanks, Vinny. Appreciate the invite here on the podcast. I'm started my career in law enforcement in 1997 with the Buffalo Police Cell Block as a cell block attendant and peace officer. I came over to Erie County as a corrections officer in 1998. I was promoted to sergeant in 2007 and then lieutenant in 2019. I also served as our union president at the correction facility out in Alden from 2017 to 2021. And I'm currently a vice president of the CSEA Local 815, representing over 5,000 employees throughout Erie County of all different types of jobs and titles. But currently, I'm an administrative lieutenant assigned to the correction facility in Alden, where I work daily as our hearing officer. I listen to all the inmate disciplinary hearings and everything like that and administer the sanctions. So I've had a front row seat for what Halt has done to the detriment of our profession.
Yeah, I mean, and that's been a thing. As when I retired, I was a disciplinary lieutenant at Lakeview Correctional Facility until I changed bids. But it was directly because of that actually I changed my mind and said that corrections was no longer going to be the avenue that I wanted to go through, because I just were seeing too many changes that were all for criminal activity and no protections for the officers, and too many people got hurt. So I said, instead of being a part of it, I was able and luckily to retire. So it's great to hear someone come from the law enforcement end and specifically on the hearing officers, because one of the biggest things that we hear today has to do with some of the legislation that New York State has passed, and in my opinion, not passed in a good way, because I spoke out many a times, they codified the Halt Act into law, and obviously now we're stuck with that. And that, for those people that are not familiar with the Halt Act, obviously it not only affects state corrections, but also county corrections and local jails at the same time. And if you wanted to speak to that a little bit, because obviously you have a vast background and it affects you as far as the Halt Act, Marc, take it away, please.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's just another piece of irresponsible legislation from the radicals in Albany that really clearly have no idea what they're doing. They took, what you can make a very, very good case for one of the most dangerous professions out there in corrections, where we have enough stressors to deal with. It's just they're now they compound, they double down on a bad idea. It's almost like they watched Shawshank Redemption too many times, and they have this perception that the whole is like a dirt floor with a bucket in the corner of the cell and no natural light. When the reality of it is that we're already mandated to have more supervisory tours in our special housing units. They have more access to forensic mental health providers, medical providers, all kinds of other resources for programs and things of that nature, without being forced into this by Halt. And what Halt has done to us is it's completely taken away our ability to hold the dangerous criminals that are in facilities statewide accountable for any of the acts that they do to staff, to each other, whether it be assaults, contraband, anything of the like. And on the county level, in Erie County, as well as other counties across the state, what it really did is it forced us to change our strategies entirely when it came to our inmate disciplinary process. So what we do now within the sheriff's office is basically we don't we don't have administrative segregation any longer. So we have, no privilege housing, reduced privilege housing, where, anything that the inmates would normally get if they were on their best behavior, whether it be television, cable TV, microwave, all the perks that come with playing by the rules, we're able to take from them because of, their privileges at the end of the day. But the downside of that is, you can assault a staff member, you can, assault another inmate, be caught with contraband, which happens daily, obviously. And we still have to allow you out of your cell 7 hours a day. So really, what's the detriment when it comes to, anybody who's worked in the facilities for as long as you did and I have, and even if you're brand new, we all know that these people don't play by the rules. That's why they're there to begin with. And now you have to afford them the opportunity at the bare minimum of being out of their cells for 7 hours a day in our case, or, in the state level, if they're under 21 or over 55, there's no accountability. And at the end of the day, why wouldn't these career criminals who've made the decisions that led them into our facilities, the poor decisions to begin with, now there's no accountability, there's no checks and balances. You can go to special housing, and now you have more access to programs than somebody who plays by the rules and is in general population. So there's just no checks and balances. It's led to over a 30% uprise across the state in all of our facilities in assaults on staff, inmate assaults. The contraband is through the roof. And it's just, and then the trickle down of that is nobody wants a job anymore. There used to be thousands of people taking these exams, and now we're at every college and everything else trying to recruit people just to get them in the door, and then hang on like heck and hope that they don't walk away when they get into the facility. It's an already extremely stressful job. That's not for everybody, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Not everybody, right. Never be able to be a firefighter. I couldn't go up on a ladder and go into a burning building and things of that nature. So I give all the credit in the world to those folks. But, as I've said before, corrections is, we're the offensive linemen of law enforcement.
I love that line.
I've been saying it forever, because the fact of the matter is, a good day for an offensive lineman is you don't hear from them. There's no penalties. Quarterback doesn't get sacked. You have a really good day. And for us, same thing. You go in, you make sure that you come home healthy, that your brothers and sisters in the, behind the walls come home healthy, and that, the inmates are all there and healthy when our shift ends. But when you screw up and the quarterback gets sacked, or, we have an assault that leads to a severe injury, or if you have a suicide, or if somebody escapes, we'll wear the goat horns all day long. And, but there's just, it's not a glorious job to begin with. And, when you're doubling down on the dangers of the job, combined with irresponsible legislation from people who have never walked the walk, that's the most frustrating part, is that you have these elected officials in Albany who come up with this legislation. And, the Halt Act is one example of it, but it didn't start there, right? Like the bail reform, where they took an idea that maybe was sound in foundation to an extent. I've seen people on the county level that were in there on petty crimes that, they were in there for months and months and months with a bail that, was affordable to anyone, most people who had a job and stuff like that. But, so there was certainly some merit to bail reform. But what they did, which is typical, is they took an idea that had some merit in its foundation and they went hog wild with it. And that's been to the detriment of any resident of New York State who's had their car stolen, and then 3 hours later their neighbor's car is being stolen by the same individual. They're just everything centers back to common sense to me. That's why I decided to run for New York State Assembly. With a 25-year retirement plan finally in place, thanks to Sheriff Garcia and the executives in Erie County. I could retire, I could walk away. My wife's a sergeant at the correction facility. Corrections is in my blood. I love the job. I love my brothers and sisters. And with the ability to be able to jump in and get to Albany as I want to be the spokesperson for common sense for every resident in my district, but there is absolutely something to be said for my brothers and sisters in corrections. I love our profession. I appreciate the brave men and women who to the at the expense of their families. They're in there for 16, 24 hours a day. On the state level, they're losing their first RDO now occasionally, which is just madness. I really, really want to go to Albany and be the biggest advocate for corrections that there could possibly be. I'm going right from the front lines as a hearing lieutenant. I deal with the ramifications of Halt literally every day. And I want to go directly from there to the assembly to be the biggest advocate and voice that I can for our brothers and sisters in corrections across the state.
Yeah, and that's admirable. And thank you for that, because that leads me, you answered the part as my next question was exactly as why you wanted to get into the assembly. So that point is well taken. The other part is it's good. And the reason our paths have crossed and the reason I wanted you to be on the podcast, and thank you for accepting the invitation, is because it's when not only just Halt, like you said, it's not the thing, but all the stakeholders, those people that live, breathe it, and actually did the job, told the people that were making the laws that these are the problems and these are the objections you have. New York State, which in my opinion, not asking you to agree with it, but always seems to take it one step further. And instead of saying, let's see how some of these policies are going to come into play, they didn't do a trial period. They went right ahead, codified it in law, and now we're stuck with it. And a lot of things, they didn't provide the resources and the staffing to go with it. The other part you said is recruitment. And this is not helping recruitment. It's actually having the opposite effect. But it's refreshing, all the nuances aside, is to actually have a candidate for the assembly that supports corrections ideas, but not only supports it. And I believe that I saw you at Senator Borrello's rally that was done out in Sunset Bay, and a lot of like-minded people were talking about the different correction issues, which was good. But now you have someone that's actually worked it. You went officer, sergeant, lieutenant, went through the ranks and actually understands it, but not only understands the issue, but actually lives it and breathes it every single day.
Yeah, and I will agree with you on everything that you said about New York State too, because it is madness. I don't know, it seems like some radical plants an idea in their heads, and they're like blind sheep. They all just follow. And why is no one standing up and saying, somebody who represents my district in Western New York, on the south side of Buffalo and in West Seneca and Orchard Park and Lackawanna, I've lived my entire 51 years in this district, and I know that we don't feel the same way as the radical left, the radical right for that matter. We're a very middle of the road conservative people in my district. And so, yeah, when it comes to bail reform, when it comes to Halt Act, I had no choice, I feel like, but to throw my hat in the ring here. There's stark differences between Pat Burke, who's the assemblyman now that I'm running against, and myself. I've been a lifelong public servant. As long as I've been an adult, I've only worked for, law enforcement and for the county and for the city of Buffalo. And I'm proud of that fact. And to sit on the sidelines and not speak up on behalf of the residents of our district, when it comes to things like bail reform, again, they took an idea that had some merit in its foundation and they went hog wild with it. I don't even know that Halt had a foundation of merit. I didn't work in every facility across the state, but from what I know is that, in the sheriff's office, there's always enhanced supervision for the people in the special housing units. You have to look out for that. It wasn't like we just completely cast aside the mental health aspect of being, in segregation. But that being said, what is segregation? It means something different to everybody. And again, if people only listen to what they watch on TV and things of that nature, they don't have any idea what the heck they're even talking about, right? There's natural lighting. There's like I said, they're supervised more closely, and they have access to mental health providers and things that the general population wouldn't. And that's not because of Halt. That's just because that's our job. We, care, custody, and control. This is what we do. And to have elected officials who have no idea what they're doing, and they listen to whatever outsourced company that they bring in to say, oh no, this is it's really, really bad for their mental health for somebody to be in special housing for over 15 days, or, they just come up with this stuff and give it time. I am optimistic that going to Albany and being our number one advocate by, and joining brothers and sisters like Senator Barillo and soon to be retired Assemblyman Joseph Giglio and David DiPietro, who is an assemblyman. There are a lot of people out there that are fighting for common sense change to this type of legislation. And at the end of the day, that's all I could ask for. Just to go there and be our biggest advocate to do the right thing. And, it goes beyond HALT. It goes beyond bail reform. In my case for, running for New York State Assembly as the endorsed Republican and conservative candidate that has a Democrat as a campaign manager, Mark Scallon, whose brother Chris just made mayor of the city of Buffalo this week. This isn't about partisan politics. This is about common sense. Like 40 over 40. This is a staggering number, and I had to look it up because when I heard it at first, I was blown away. But there is over 40 convicted cop killers in New York State have been paroled in the last 7 years.
Wow. That's
disturbing. That's upsetting to me. And, it's legislators like Pat Burke who, I'd be standing up screaming, I'm not saying that I'm going to be able to go to Albany and change all this stuff overnight, but they will know that your assemblyman in the 142nd district is not okay with this insanity. 40, I believe it's 42 convicted cop killers have been paroled since 2017. And when you add that to the pro-criminal legislation like the HALT Act and the pro-criminal legislation like bail reform, the proof's in the pudding. Every day you're reading about, you look at the NYPD officers who were assaulted by Venezuelan gang members in the country illegally in Times Square. And in Irondequoit, New York, just down the 90 from Buffalo, you had a family of 4 butchered by an illegal immigrant. On the west side of Buffalo, you had literally an illegal immigrant axe murdered his wife. And that's all happened in the last couple of months. This is on our doorstep. It's not a matter of what's going to happen when it gets here. It's here. So what are we going to do about it? You know what I mean? Status quo is not working. And that's why, speaking with my wife and my kids and our family and my closest of friends, that's why I'm doing this. It's not I have nothing to personally gain for this. I could join you down in sunny Florida in retirement. That was the tentative game plan. This opportunity presented itself. And I feel like I'm the perfect candidate to go to Albany and stand up, not just for our brothers and sisters in corrections, but for all the residents of the 142nd Assembly District who are quite frankly, being sold short by their current assemblyman.
And that speaks volumes. I mean, the people not only of corrections, I mean, they have family and they deserve to be secure and not have these insane policies hit their doorstep. So that is why obviously we support you. We support your candidacy, your views, and like-minded individuals, get together. And I think you said it best. It should be common sense, though common sense doesn't seem too common lately.
No.
And we appreciate you speaking out on behalf of the correction officers everywhere, not just in New York State, obviously, but everywhere, local, city, county, and obviously you lived it. So that goes a long way. But some of the issues that you spoke to about your current opponent, I mean, he has to share some responsibility in that because his name is a yes on a lot of these bills that have come true, are they not?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the issue is that, when you depend on the party in Albany to dump hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s into your coffers come election season, then what happens? So yet you won again. He's a 3-term incumbent. And then he goes to Albany back there and he's not going to buck the party line because there is bread and butter, that there is pathway to a pension. And, it is what it is. Just, anybody could look it up. And there's a lot of stark differences between us as candidates. I'm new to politics, and I think he's insinuated that, or his party has insinuated that there'd be a learning curve with someone new. Well, yeah, of course, you know what I mean. But that being said, I don't need to be taught common sense. I don't need to be taught the values and the ethics and the morals and the integrity of the people of our district. He has allegations against him from his own staff that he handpicked who filed hostile work environment charges against him, sexual harassment charges against him, disgusting, disturbing things where he is mocked out an assemblywoman for when she came forth and had to bear her heart out that she was sexually abused as a child. Well, he went back to his office and mocked her out to his staff about it. He talked about having, what disabilities he wanted his staff to, in him, like a frat house, to rank the disabilities that you would have sex with somebody, starting with Down syndrome is number one. And it's disturbing. It's sickening. It's out there. I'm not making it up. People could look this stuff up. And, I've in 27, almost 28 full years in law enforcement, I've climbed through the ranks in corrections. I was also voted our union president. I worked in internal affairs for 2 years under Sheriff Garcia, where our motto was Guardians of Integrity. This isn't even close. Like this election, of course, it's going to be, I assume it'll probably be close, but like other than people who blindly just are stuck in the voting party line, I can't see how anyone is okay with what has gone down in the district and across the state that he has not stood up against all these different things that we've discussed. And then you compound all of that with his own staff essentially turning on him after he fired them all. And they finally had the courage to come forward and tell everyone the working conditions that they were under, right at the office. So yeah, it's night and day. It's an integrity issue. It's a professionalism issue. And quite frankly, like I've been saying, our residents deserve better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And for our correction brothers and sisters and our union brothers and sisters, which we have a lot of, I just think that New York State owes them protection. Nobody takes this job to become rich. And as you know, and I mean, it provides great benefits and subsistence for our families, but nobody's getting rich by being a public servant for New York State. And I believe that New York State, including the New York State legislature, and I hope you would share the same views, and I'm sure that you do, that I believe that they owe every employee, doesn't matter if it's law enforcement, civilian, or what, that they should go home the same way that they came into work that day, and they deserve a safe work environment, and they don't deserve to be, assaulted and some of the disturbing things that have happened lately. And speak to New York State, you would know better the county, the assaults on staff are at a record level. They're almost to the point 3/4 of the way through of all of last year, which broke a record, and nobody deserves that. And I think New York State owes the safety of its employees.
It does. I mean, without a doubt. And that's the aspect of it that gets overlooked by the general public, I believe, is that every single corrections officer or person who works inside the facilities, quite frankly, everybody's coming from a family, right? There's a wife or a husband at home, and there's kids at home, and we're missing holidays and we're missing birthdays. And, you go to work one day, and we know what we signed up for, right? It's not a glorious job. It's a dangerous job. That every day you walk in behind the walls that you might not be walking back out. And now, you have these issues with fentanyl exposures and all these other things, like what happened at Collins Correctional. And, when does it end? Like at what point is somebody going to stand up and say, hey, maybe we declare an emergency here and stop the contact visits until we can get a handle on what the heck is going on, in our facilities. And with that, hold those accountable who are breaking the rules. So it's a much bigger picture than what the public can understand. Like, like I said, my wife is a sergeant at the correction facility in Erie County. And my son's a deputy at the Erie County Holding Center. This affects your whole family. How many times you have to explain to your young kids that, yeah, sorry, daddy or mommy can't be here for this or that. It's a much bigger picture. And that goes along with, like you alluded to before, with the staffing levels. We can't recruit, we can't retain. It's such an uphill battle. And when your own employer is your biggest enemy, arguably, the whole system's broken. And it's got to stop somewhere. That's a huge part of why I'm running. It's got to stop somewhere. People talk about, well, the pendulum always swings back. That may be true, but until we draw like enough's enough, right? Like I've said to people, like enough's enough. If we don't start electing officials who are going to prioritize common sense over their radical values of their party, then we're just doing it wrong. And we can't expect things to change unless you jump in and make a difference. And that's on, it starts October 26th with the early voting, and it runs right through November 5th on election day. I strongly encourage people to take advantage of the early voting. It's a tool that, you just can't depend on, especially in my neck of the woods here in Buffalo. You cannot depend on the weather cooperating on election day. Too many people just, if we get a huge snowstorm unexpectedly or whatever, and they stay home, and then, candidates like myself and like-minded candidates end up falling just a little bit short. That's why it's important to utilize the early voting. And it's also important to tell your family and friends and have them tell their family and friends that, hey, look, I drove to Syracuse yesterday from West Seneca to meet with representatives of Nice-Goba, just to let them know, hey man, like I got your back, like 100%. It's not even up for debate. Like, shameless. I will be there and have the backs of our brothers and sisters in corrections like nobody possibly could, right? Like I live it every day. I'm so proud to be from corrections. I'm not, God bless our police officers and our firefighters. That's not the, in my first few years in corrections, I learned that I'm here for the long haul. I love it. It's a brotherhood. It's a sisterhood. Being a team sports player my whole life, this is just it's my family. You know what I mean? You guys, like Vinny, like you and I never worked a day together, but I consider you a brother, right? And you the same as me, I'm sure. And it's something that, it doesn't come in every line of work, right? And I'm proud of it. I'll go to Albany and I'll run through a wall for the brothers and sisters of corrections, and like nobody possibly could understand. And I'm looking forward to it. We're 19 days away from election day. And, the only thing holding us back here is getting out the vote, having our friends and family, tell their friends and family that this is our guy. We got to get out there and back him. I'm up against a 3-term incumbent who's at a 2-to-1 enrollment advantage against me. And the way that we pull this off, like, I use a lot of sports analogies. Like we're in the red zone. Like I'd say right now, we're probably closer than the red zone. We're probably on the 5-yard line, but we have to get in the end zone. And, I need all of my brothers and sisters in corrections and, law enforcement and common sense land to stand up for it and say, we need to change. We need to vote for Marc, because what's going on right now in New York State does not represent our morals and our ethics and our values.
I couldn't agree more. And I just wanted to get to one of our slides, but if you could just tell everybody, I know that I certainly support you. And if people wanted to find out more information, where would they go to find that information from you on the internet, so to speak?
Yeah, thank you for that, Vinny. So we have our website as listed there. It's priorefораssembly.com. And on the website, you'll have a more in-depth background on who I am. Growing up in South Buffalo, went to Bishop Timon High School, played hockey at Cas Park. And it's just my grandfather was a Buffalo Police captain in Precinct 9 in South Buffalo, president of the Buffalo Police PBA. And on my website, you'll also see, aside from my background bio, you'll see like the different endorsements that I have so far. The Teamsters Local 264, the Joint Council 46, which represents all the Teamsters across Western New York. Sheriff John Garcia, I'm proud to have his endorsement. I'm proud to have the endorsement of the Erie County Sheriff's PBA, the Buffalo Police PBA. It's kind of like one-stop shopping for my campaign at priorefораssembly.com. We also have Priore for Assembly on Facebook. And on there, we have a little bit more, it's updated with, pictures from our various events and things of that nature. And also, we post anything that's going on. We have a campaign headquarters at 1005 Abbott Road in South Buffalo, which is close to the world famous Imperial Pizza, where anybody could pop in. And that's where we can get you a lawn sign. If anybody wants to reach out through the website, we'd be happy to make sure that one of my awesome group of volunteers will get lawn signs out to whoever needs them. There's still plenty of time to get the lawn signs out there, and it would mean a lot to me to have the support of, like I said, my brothers and sisters in corrections, especially.
Well, we certainly support you, and hopefully everyone that's in the 142nd district supports you as well. There's a lot to digest in what you said, and just the fact, that you and I have had several discussions in the last couple of weeks, and listening to your life experience, especially when dealing with, not just correction issues and halt issues, but just the general issues, like you said, which most people would think would be common sense, it's refreshing to hear someone actually come out and say, this isn't political. This isn't, it just should be a bipartisan, easy solution for common sense. But as I said earlier, this just seems common sense just is not common these days.
It's not that common anymore. Right on.
So we certainly support you and wish you well, and hopefully you're successful in your run for the 142nd. And if we can help in any other way, or you'd like to be a guest on again, we'd certainly love to have you. So in closing, again, for those that can see it at the bottom, priorefораssembly.com. If you're listening on the audio, there'll be a link provided for the assembly for the candidate for the 142nd, Marc Priore. And we can certainly add the brochures, and I'll certainly be posting it on Facebook and everywhere else that I can possibly get support for you, Marc. We truly appreciate you being on, but we more importantly not only do we deserve, but appreciate someone being an advocate for corrections in general.
Thank you very much, Vinny. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for having me on the podcast today, and I look forward to definitely getting together again in the future. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Yeah, not a problem.
New York State Assembly, you can count on me to keep your neighborhood safe. I'll support good jobs right here, and I will fight to stop the handouts to lawbreakers. My name is Marc Priore. Please scan the QR code and help me get elected to the State Assembly.
And for those that are on the audio portion of the podcast, we will also have the video link and upload available for those. So Marc, thank you again. Can't thank you enough for being on. And if there's anything else, like I said before, we want to make sure that we get out your information, and we can't thank you enough for explaining for those that don't know, because you've done it not just here, but everywhere as far as the Halt Act. I know I've said it a couple times now, and you mentioned your position on the Halt Act. And to me, it is not only killing New York State, it's killing the very people that it was designed to support. As I said in my last podcast, that people in the state facilities, I'm sure it's happening to a degree in the county too, that it's because there's no penalties for the Halt Act, that it's actually hurting them, because the gangs are now running the prisons, and they're not to rehash the whole last episode, but they're paying for simple things as far as showers and soap, because they owe the gang leaders, and there's no repercussions. Like you said, they can do 15 days. That's not a penalty, and come right back out as if nothing happened. So I can't thank you again, and we'll be in touch. And again, for those that put it out one last time for the priorefораssembly.com, and hopefully we can get Marc elected, and we certainly support him. And thank you again, Marc.
Thank you, Vinny, and thank you for your service to New York State Department of Corrections. Enjoy your retirement. Hopefully it's many, many years.
I hope you're right on that one, and thank you very much.
Thanks,
So
Vinny.
again, thank you. So again, everyone, as I end with every podcast, be kind, for you never know what the person next to you is going through. We want to thank Marc for being here today, and more importantly, we want to thank all of you for listening, and we hope that you also will support Marc. For those that live in the 142nd district, the early voting, as he said, starts next week. So again, thank you everyone for the Working in Hell podcast, and have a great day.
You've been listening to the Working in Hell podcast with Vinny Blasio. Find this podcast on any of your favorite platforms like Audible, iHeart, and Spotify. And be sure to check out www.workinginhell.com for more information and important links. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.